Hi guys, my name's Karah McLaren. I graduated from Southern School in 2013 with a Bachelor of Health Science in Naturopathy, and I came straight to university from high school, which in 2010 was quite unusual. I'm not sure how things are now, but there was myself and two others which were straight from high school, so needless to say my university experience was very different to the rest of my friends from back home, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I was so lucky to find what I wanted to do so young, and the course was amazing. I absolutely loved it, and I completed the course in the 4 years. And in final year, there's a lot of talk about what are you going to do when you graduate, what everyone's planning on doing. And I had no idea. I knew I wanted to practice, but I had no idea in what capacity or how I was going to make that work. But I knew that I needed a break because the course is very taxing. So I took 3 months off, travelled, and even then I don't think my adrenal glands had fully recovered after that. But my advice for students who are wanting to practice is to just start. So whether, I should have started this. So whether it is small, big, in whatever capacity, just start practicing. Because you're never going to be more ready to see clients than when you first graduate. All of that information that you've been learning from, herbal medicine, nutritional medicine, myo stuff, TCM, it's all at the forefront of your brain. So if you can really harness that and delve straight into private practice, it's going to make it so much easier for you to gain that clinical experience rather than putting it off and getting a bit nervous. So one thing that I got told when I first started practicing, and it's really stuck with me, is that you're always going to know more than the person sitting across from you in the consult room, because a lot of people get quite nervous about seeing people and the questions coming at you, but you are always going to be more prepared. So, and even if you can just give them a few simple pieces of advice, whether it's dietary stuff, a few simple remedies, get them to come back in a week or two, and then that'll give you time to really nut it out. So, do your research, do all that extra reading that you might need. It's a lot easier in the real world to practice than in student clinic. Minimal time pressures, you don't have to justify everything you're giving, and you really can sort of find your own groove with it. So my advice to students is to just start. So over the past 5 years, I've been growing my practice. I live in Torquay and I practice across Geelong and Bannockburn and Ocean Grove. And while it's not a massive clinic just yet, we're growing. So I've just brought on another practitioner and a 4th year student to help with some online content, which has been really amazing. So yeah, while we're not big, we're always growing, and that's all that I can ask. And so I guess the reason why I'm here today is to tell you how I did it, how you can do it. And while I'm not an expert, I'm definitely just going to try and share as much of what I've learned over the last 5 years with you. So my first clinic that I worked at was a bulk billing GP clinic in Ocean Grove. And it really sort of just fell into my lap. I knew the physio that worked there, and he rang me out of the blue and said, we've got a clinic room, do you want to come along? So that was amazing, but it really just sort of threw me in the deep end. Had to get everything ready. So ABN, clinic name, pricing, you name it, everything. But that was really good because it gave you that sort of timeline. You had to get it done by this point because, those sorts of things can just go on the to-do list and never actually get done. So I started out just doing 2 hours a week, 2 hours on a Monday evening, and sometimes we were booked out and sometimes I had no one. But the important thing is that we just started. The other really helpful thing that I had during this time as well was I still worked at a health food shop, which gave me that ability to also see clients out the back if I needed. So while the health food shop wasn't a long-term goal, I guess, but it was really helpful when I was studying as well as when you first graduate, because you can be on the floor talking to customers, using that knowledge that you've learnt through uni, recalling it really quickly, but also practicing with conveying that information to people, because often when you're in student clinic and in uni, you're surrounded in this bubble of everyone that's talking your same language. So when you come out of that bubble, it can take a little bit of practice to drop it back to layman's terms. So from that point of view, that was really, really great. It's also a bit of free marketing as well. So if you're talking to customers, they're always potential clients. So if you can really show that you know your stuff, then as the conversation gets deeper, you can actually say, look, I'm a practitioner, I work from X, Y and Z clinic, why don't you book in an appointment with me and we can actually delve deeper into your health issues. So from that point of view, that was really helpful. But even just from a financial point of view, having that steady income in terms of the day job meant that I wasn't putting pressure on myself when I was seeing clients. So I was really practicing because I wanted to, not because I had to pay rent and pay the bills. So from that perspective, that was really, really, really important, but it just, was a great one for managing stress levels across the board. And like I said before, I do work from a few different locations, and that's one way that I've been able to grow my client base quickly and really easily as well. So I started in Ocean Grove and then moved to Geelong and Bannockburn, and amongst those I've been able to sort of build up a client base where I'm able to see people full time. So it just exposes you to a much wider market. But like what we were talking about before, it really exposes you to different clientele. So you'll find different conditions are more prevalent in certain areas, and it just gives you that wider clinical experience. I also worked in a Melbourne clinic in the CBD when I in my second year out of uni, and it became very evident that the people that I was seeing in the city were very, very different to the people that I saw in, say, Bannockburn, which is a little country town 20 minutes outside of Geelong. So just putting that in with the experience pile is really helpful as well. But definitely from building up your clinic time quickly, diversifying across a few different spaces has been something I found really, really helpful. And remember, slow growth is better than no growth, and try not to compare yourself to everyone else that you have gone through uni with, because you will see people at seminars and it's I feel like if you're doing what you want to do and you're on the right path, then that's the biggest thing. Alright, so I was in my clinic, had everything set up clinic-wise, but I have no business experience whatsoever. And so that was the thing that I really had to get up to speed on, and quickly, because within your clinic, you are still a practitioner, but first and foremost, you're a business person, because without the business and seeing clients, then you have no one to practice on. So it was completely uncharted territory. There's no business people in my family or anything like that. So I really took it upon myself to educate myself in terms of everything business. So I downloaded every free ebook and email series, listened to podcasts, read books, everything you can think of. And that just gave me a really great basis, I guess, in terms of just the basics of how to run a business, because it can all get a bit all-consuming when you look at it as a whole. But if you're just able to break it down and sort of take what you want from each of those sort of free resources, it's been really helpful. And if you have a friend that is a business person, definitely sit down and have a coffee and just pick their brain, because it's one thing to read lots, but if you can get that anecdotal experience from someone, then that is worth more than anything. So I just urge people to seek, and you shall find, because I had been studying for 4 years and before that in high school, and I had zero budget to work with. So there is heaps of free resources out there. So I do encourage you to just explore a little bit. And it's something that you'll always be learning, so I'm constantly learning more and more about it. But one of the greatest pieces of advice that I was given when I was exploring this whole business side is to find your niche market. So what that means is talking to a specific group of people rather than trying to talk to everyone. So for myself, I decided to focus on digestive health. So I specialise in a lot of IBS, any sort of digestive issues, bloating, reflux. Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. They're all the type of thing that I really pitch a lot of my marketing at. And I found as soon as I went from advertising just generally as a naturopath to a naturopath that specialises in X, Y, and Z, then my client base just skyrocketed. Because if you were talking to lots of people, no one's really listening, rather than talking to a single person, then they really sort of connect with it better and are more likely to book an appointment. So it was something that I definitely resisted against initially because I was new, I wanted to see as many people as possible. So for me, having to sort of go, oh no, well I only do this, it seemed a bit counterintuitive, but it really, really did make a big difference. And it also makes it easier when you're doing your marketing because you can really sort of target a particular person. So a lot of the business things say, you know, who is your ideal client? And it can be a little bit tricky to pinpoint, but if you can really be specific when you're just defining your ideal client, then it makes it so much easier to target your marketing. So, for example, my ideal client is a mum, 35 to 45 years old, has about 2 kids, has had digestive issues for a while, but they've been getting progressively worse. Stress is definitely a factor in her life. She's always putting herself last and doing everything for everyone else. That classic mum picture. She will often get onto Facebook and do some online shopping of an evening with a glass of wine after the kids have gone to bed. And so you can see from there, I'm able to sort of use that language that will talk directly to her. And then I know where she hangs out. So I'll really sort of focus a lot of my marketing through Facebook and things like that to really capture her. In saying that, you're always going to get people that don't fit that box, but I find about 80% of my clients are that person. And it also allows you to get better patient outcomes as well, because if you are able to focus your energy on a particular topic, it doesn't have to just be a condition, doesn't just have to be digestive issues, it might be your modality, it could be homeopathy, or it might be, you know, new mums or teenagers, whatever it might be. But if you can really hone in on that area, you're going to be so much more across it, rather than trying to learn little bits of everything as you go along. You're going to know your remedies that you're using inside and out, because you're going to be using them a lot and seeing how they work with different people. And it just allows you to grow that knowledge base on those particular topics a lot better. And as well, you can sort of pick the seminars and things you go to a bit easier, so you can really, really delve deep into it. And then that allows you to get those better patient outcomes, which is what we always want. Okay, so how to get clients, or marketing and communication channels, which sounds like the most boring topic ever. But it is really important, because it is, again, how you're going to get those clients. So marketing is how you interact with potential clients and how you sort of, purvey yourself and get those people interested, whereas communication channels is more about how they interact with your business. So when they're trying to get in touch with you, how does that sort of happen? And they're both just as important as one another. So marketing is a word that I never liked. I used to sort of have that, I don't like marketing because it's not something that generally sits well with me. I haven't never had much practice at it. So it took me a little while to sort of find a type of marketing that sat well with me. I found that social media has been fantastic for marketing, because you can share so much with clients. You can, all your blog posts and interesting articles and just little inspirational things. You can constantly be putting things out for those particular clients, and those that are interested will definitely connect with it. So it's more of that energy exchange. You don't feel like you're just going, hey everyone, look at me, I can do this. It's more that building trust and those relationships with potential clients. And as well, when you're looking at social media, use a platform that is used by your clients, like I was saying before with that mum hanging out on Facebook. So I do a lot of my stuff on Facebook, but choose as many or as few social media platforms as you like. And if you haven't used something like Instagram before, maybe don't start using Instagram for your Facebook, for your marketing. Use something that you've had a little bit of experience with, because you do just want to use it for, to its best potential. And the whole sort of concept, I guess, with the marketing joined in with that niche market is you want to build yourself as that authority figure. So sharing as much on the topic, I guess. So sharing as much information on that particular topic, it just builds your profile in terms of, well, Karah knows a lot about this subject, so I'm more likely to book in with her rather than a person that isn't advertising those services. So yeah, that's sort of the whole end game, is just building that profile and ensuring to your potential clients that you do know what you're talking about and what value you can bring to them as well. So if you haven't already, a website is vital for so many different reasons. But especially if you're using social media to market yourself, linking it back in with that website is really, really important. It's generally the most common way people will find practitioners now is by searching in Google or whatever search engine. So for that reason, making sure that your website is all sort of organised with search engine optimization, which is a whole kettle of fish amongst itself, and it is something that if you're not tech savvy in any way, I would probably outsource it or get someone that knows a little bit what they're doing to help you with it. Because if you're not coming up on Google in the top, few hits, then it's going to be so much harder for you to get clients. So try to definitely be on the first page, if not right up the top. Because if your site is coming up on second or third page, people just aren't going to find it. But your website is really important because it does allow people to sort of get a bit of an insight as to who you are as a practitioner. So share lots of information about what you're about, how you work, and then people that are vibing with it are more likely to book in with you, and you're going to get the right types of clients through the door. Because there's nothing worse than sitting in a consultation with someone that is not gelling with you, and it is just very uncomfortable. So the more of those like-minded patients, I guess, that you can get through the door, it's going to be a more positive experience for everyone, and you're going to get better clinical outcomes as well. So yeah, your website, really, really, really important for sharing lots of information. So blogs, articles, recipes. Doesn't necessarily have to be things that you've written yourself. You can always share other things on it. But it is really important that you're constantly updating it with something, because that's also going to talk in with the search engine optimization. So the more information that you can put up on your website about what you do, the more likely it is that Google will recognize it as, okay, well, this website's more relevant, and you're going to sort of go up the result chain thing. Okay, once they're on your website, this is more the communication channels, I guess. So how, now that they're on your website, how they sort of going to interact with yourself. A really important thing moving forward in terms of long-term marketing is building that email list. Because at the moment, Google and Facebook and Instagram and things like that are really good, but their algorithms are always changing. So we never know exactly how effective they're going to be for marketing in the future. So making sure that you are able to build your sort of standalone client base in terms of email lists and things like that, that's really important, because they're already potential clients and they're already interested. If you can engage with them on a regular basis, again, that's just going to build that relationship outside of the clinic. And yeah, they're going to be more likely to book in with you as well. And allows you to talk directly to that ideal client as well, because they're qualified as potential clients. They've already shown that they're interested, and so you can really sort of target that marketing towards them. And you can also, a really easy way to get more email sign-ups is to create an opt-in offer. So, you're on a website and the box pops up offering you something for, your email address in return. And as soon as I introduce something like this onto my website, email list just, skyrocketed again. So it can be anything. It can be, a percentage off a particular thing. It can be an ebook. It can be an email sequence. It can be anything. Preferably linking it back in with what your niche market is about. And it's more just building that trust, I guess, as well with those potential clients. So if they're giving you something, you're giving something back. And yeah, it's a really lovely way to just sort of exchange that energy with them, and it's a good starting point. Cool. And of course, there's always things like events and workshops and all those sorts of things that you can do to promote yourself. I find workshops are probably my favourite because it's a bit more relaxed. You can communicate, with people a bit easier. You can give them some really tangible things to go home with and start to implement straight away. Online-based events are also really good, so webinars, email sequences and things like that. And they're often things that you can set and forget. So you can do, an online webinar, have it up on your website, and people can actually sort of purchase that, forever really. All right, so you've got clients, you're getting busier, which is amazing because we always want to be busy, but things are getting a little bit hectic. And so when this happens, I really want you to sort of take a step back and look at how everything's running within your clinic. And look wherever you can of ways to automate things and streamline things. So if you can sort of look at a particular job that you're doing regularly and go, how can I actually eliminate myself from that? That's going to free up so much extra time for you, and whether you fill that time with seeing more clients or just for your personal time, whatever it is, it's going to go a long way for managing burnout and managing stress levels and things like that. And there's so many different ways that you can streamline. A favourite one of mine is online booking systems. So online booking systems are a really lovely way that people can book in and have all their information there without you even having to touch base with them. And I think in this day and age as well, everyone's wanting stuff on demand. So if you can make it as easy as possible for them to book online, then most people do take up that offer. I reckon 95% of my bookings come through the online, and has removed so much just sort of running around for me in terms of replying to emails and answering phone calls and going back and forth on appointment times. They can see exactly when I'm available. They can see the consult fee. They can even adding things like private health rebates available and all those sorts of questions that you normally get asked. That just takes you out of the equation and it gives them the power. And I often get people booking in at like 3-4 in the morning, whether they're up with the kids or up with a digestive issue or just can't sleep. It's often in those early hours of the morning people go, all right, enough's enough, I've got to do something, and they'll get online and book it straight away. So if they had to wait till 9 a.m. when the clinic opened, they might not make that call. So I find, from that point of view, it's been really, really helpful. And you can always put links for it everywhere. So in all your social media stuff, say book online at this, at this link. In your emailing, book your appointment now. So it's just opening up those communication channels with those clients. And you don't have to purchase anything for that. A lot of the website tools will often have free versions that you can integrate in with Google Calendar and things like that. So it's definitely something that I would look into. The other really great thing that has come from it is that people fill out the intake form, and then I would have to then plug all that information in after they leave. When they book online, all of that information is already there. So that's another job that just is eliminated. Another one that I would also look at a little bit down the track is an accounting software of some description. So especially if invoicing and all those sorts of stuff is getting a bit out of hand, and when it comes to tax time, everything's a little bit all over the place. Having some form of accounting software has just made my life so much easier. But I wouldn't sort of suggest automating things straight away. I generally like to sort of nut it out and see what's going to work best for your business, because everyone is so different. So it wouldn't be something that I'd be saying, all right, you've got to have all this set up before you practice. It's definitely something to start to implement as you travel through things. And a really, really great one to streamline is that scheduling of social media, because it can take up a lot of time. There's so many different programs that you can use to just set aside, one morning a week, generate all the information and all the content, plug it in, and then just sort of set and forget, so you don't have to think about posting every day, and it allows you to be more present in your day-to-day and actually work within your business rather than marketing and everything. So some of my favourite programs for helping with running a clinic. Canva is an online graphic design program which isn't really helping with the flow side of things, but it's really great for branding and just sort of keeping that continuity across your brand. So making sure that everything looks professional, and it's really easy and simple. You can do it all yourself. Wix is what I use for my website. A really, really easy website building tool, which it's pretty basic, but that's all that I really need. But there's so many different companies out there that offer it. And again, you can outsource it. Again, that can be quite a big expense when you're setting up. So it's really just up to you, really. Clinico is where I use my practice management software. So I use all the clinic notes in that. That also has my online booking that will generate invoices, which then talk to Xero, which is my accounting software, which then talks to my bank account, so I can reconcile everything at once. So it's, again, just making it so much easier. Hootsuite is what I use for social media scheduling. Again, there's so many different brands, but these are just the ones that I use. And MailChimp is also fantastic for any of your email marketing. And you can definitely link them. So I find with my Wix, I've integrated it with MailChimp, and as soon as I get someone sign up to the opt-in on my website, that email address is automatically put into MailChimp, and then my automatic email will go out. So when someone does sign up for my website, I have the email that comes through with the ebook, and then a few days later I'll also send off a following email, which just sort of introduces myself, who I am, what I do, what I'm about, and then just checking in, seeing how they found the ebook, and then there'll also be a link to book an appointment and then link back to my website as well. So just making sure that flow of everything it's all connected, and even get a friend to sort of sit down and go at it from that customer point of view, because when you're in it, it can get a bit confusing. So if you can get someone that hasn't looked at anything of yours to play with it and just see how it all flows, that's really helpful as well. All right, networking. I'm not a big networker in the traditional sense. I've been to networking evenings and events, and it's just not where I enjoy spending a lot of time. I find that people that I meet at those types of events often put up a bit of a front, and I don't find it very useful in my business. In saying that, networking as a whole is really important, not only for your own business in terms of building clients and a client base, but from a healthcare practitioner point of view, it's so important to know who's around and who you can refer to. So from that point of view, really sort of taking networking quite seriously is important. And when Southern School contacted me about talking about networking, I had to really think about how I network, because I don't consciously think I network, but I guess I do. So most of my networking comes from, again, social media. So I will follow, like, and comment on a lot of other local practitioners and local businesses pages, because more often than not, it's just letting people know that you're around. And yeah, just sort of letting them know that you're around, this is what you do. And from, because other local people will also see that you're commenting and liking those people's posts as well. So from that point of view, it's a really good business building tool. But people talk, all the time. So if you can sort of have your name at the top of their list in terms of when they think of a naturopath, they think of Karah, or they think of a myotherapist, they think, So from that point of view, it's really important. And even things like if they post, like if a local practitioner posts something that I find my clients will find really, really interesting and really helpful, I'll always share that content. And that also just encourages them to do the same when I post something. So it's definitely about, I guess, networking, but more that sort of social side of things, media side of things, I should say. And I guess I'm probably more of an introvert, so this is where I sort of feel more comfortable in doing that networking setting, rather than being an event and having to have my business cards and explain to strangers what I do. And then from there, you sort of do get a bit of a vibe in terms of who you're sort of connecting with in terms of other local practitioners. So you can reach out, start that conversation a bit further over, an email or just social media, and then, catching up for a coffee and explaining exactly, what you do and the types of people that you see. And yeah, because when I started practicing as a naturopath, naturopathy is amazing, but I find it can only help to some point, and then there needs to be other people brought into the equation. So for that reason, like having a really great psychologist and even like kinesiologist on board, just to sort of help remove any emotional, spiritual blocks. I find that is a big one from a naturopathic point of view. But you need all sorts of practitioners. So body work in particular, getting a good myo, chiro, osteo, whoever it might be. Finding a great GP is so important. And it's probably one of the hardest things to find, because often they will hear the word naturopath and turn off. But but there are some really great ones out there that are willing to work with you. So if you do find one of those, then really sort of hold on to them, because they can be so helpful for building your business, but vice versa as well. So I will I've got one particular GP which I refer to all the time. Because he is so open-minded and willing to work with what we're doing. And, patients really appreciate it as well. If you can go, oh, right, you need to go back to the GP, and we can get this test done by Medicare, it's not out of pocket. And then that just keeps the GP in the loop as well. So that's really, really important from a care point of view. But yeah, just knowing other businesses that are around. So whether it's PT, other Chinese med practitioners is awesome, acupuncturist, all that sort of stuff. So having that real utility belt with that multimodality approach is definitely where you get the greatest clinical outcomes from. All right, so other things to consider in your clinic. Preventing burnout is the biggest one, because if you are able to maintain that really great work-life balance long term, then you're going to be able to do what you enjoy for years and years and years. Because as practitioners, it is very taxing to see clients. I know in student clinic, when we all saw our first client, we came out and it was like we'd run a marathon. But you've just been sitting there, but you are so physically exhausted because you do give so much of yourself. So practicing, protecting your energy in that regard. And that is something that just gets easier and easier the more people you see. But if you've been practicing for a while and you're still exhausted after seeing clients, then maybe looking at boundaries and things like that when you are in clinic. So really assessing, how you are able to protect yourself and leave their issues with them. A great way to prevent burnout as well is to implement some form of passive income. So passive income is, making money essentially without having to do much. So you're essentially doing the work up front, and then it's sort of a set and forget. So like I said before about doing a webinar or doing an ebook or something, popping it up on your website and having something that people can purchase, it just allows you to essentially be sleeping and have that money coming in. So again, taking that stress off the business, and it means that you don't have to be in clinic seeing patients to make money, which is a really, really important aspect, I think, as well. another way to really sort of prevent that burnout is to diversify your business and your income streams. So definitely, I find if you're just relying on seeing clients, then you're going to be working quite hard. So we want to work smarter, not harder, and sort of making sure that you've got a few different avenues in the way the money's coming in. So, and that can look different for everyone. So for myself, I actually started another business with one of my friends, and we have a sauerkraut company. So I understand that that's not for everyone in terms of starting another business, but from my point of view, it's been a fantastic balancer to clinic, because I don't have to be thinking about it. It's, social. I do it with a friend. It has that creative aspect to it. So we're always sort of making up new recipes and doing new labeling and things like that. So for me, that's been a really great accompaniment to my clinical practice. But it can even just be diversifying your own business. So bringing in other practitioners, and whatever structure that you want that to be, whether it is commission-based or you charge them, a rental fee or whatever it is, that is just going to add to that business income. Or, focusing more on having more sort of retail-y type items up on either your website or in clinic, so that you can just increase those sales of people already coming through the door, rather than having to go out and drum up more business. And that's going to look different for everyone, but finding something that sort of works in with your lifestyle, that will be something that is definitely worth considering when you're starting a clinic. And it doesn't have to be something that you implement now, but looking sort of, 5 years into the future of, okay, well, where do I want to be? How many clients do I want to be seeing? That's going to generate this much money, so how can I sort of beef up the rest of things? So yeah, just something to think about, because from that burnout point of view, we don't want that at all. Yeah, I think that is pretty much it.